Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Hawe. I'm an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by myself are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial conditions. Please pause the video, read this disclosure, position update. No new swings for me. We got a lot of earnings coming up, so probably nothing new for swings right away, but post earnings is always a good time to look. Alrighty, so market finally bounced today. Not kinda. We got a solid bounce today, but we also got a bit of a rollover in the afternoon, arguably more than we should have. And SPY is now once again closing below the 200 day, actually. We never managed to close below it. We poked below it once on one of these pre-market days. I forget which day. And then Friday was our first time actually closing below it since basically we've kind of gotten out of that bear market route. And then today, another close below it with another afternoon roll-off. But overall, it was still, an okay day. Big picture today was a daily bounce in a weekly downtrend. We mentioned that last week, that if SPY looks like it's set to break 420 basically, and if it does, we're going to be entering a lower low on the weekly chart for a more once again established weekly downtrend. So we mentioned that last week, and then coming in this morning, SPY was gapping down already below that 420, and we did trade below 420. SPY traded down to actually under 418 this morning on that morning flush, but now we have once again another lower high, which actually came in last week on, I forget which day that was, like early on last week, where that was the day that we quote unquote broke out through 437 after failing to break down that morning. If you guys remember that, crazy week last week. But lower high last week, and now followed by technically what is a lower low. Keep in mind we are a little bit extended from that weekly ADMA, so some room up, but overall today was a daily bounce on a weekly downtrend. So coming in this morning, really bad close on the market Friday afternoon. Pretty much Friday was more or less as bad as it could have been, whereas it could have been worse. Like, we could have gone lower, but it was really orderly all day. We kept talking about that, and we were kind of expecting a bit of a gap down. So coming in this morning, we weren't actually gapping down too much really early on. There wasn't too much action. I remember last night, Sunday, when the futures opened, the futures were actually up a bit, and they traded up a bit from their open as well. And everyone was saying, once again, market trades really poorly on a Friday. People are, not preparing, but kind of hedging for like a shock factor over the weekend. Nothing to an extreme degree really happens, and market's looking to gap up. But around like 5 a.m. or so, we actually sold off pretty hard. Again, pretty flat on the open, but by this morning, pre-market before the open, we were down decently, and that was with TLT with a gap down, although not quite to the low from Friday, but sold off to new lows pre-market. TLT actually traded below 82 pre-market, and then managed to stage a decent bounce into the open. So pretty volatile pre-market session. All of that had us gapping down. We weren't gapping down too much. I remember doing the meeting and we were down like 0.3, 0.4%, something like that. So not a huge gap down, but Friday was a day where coming in, short-term tactical was almost in the green. So as of the close Friday, we were saying this is probably going to do it for us, put us in the green. So let's hope for any downside, really. And that's kind of what we got. These are, usually when things line up a bit better and we try to go for it a little bit more, although again, not a huge gap down. So by the time the market actually opened, we had bounced well off our lows. Not a huge bounce though, where all of the opportunity I didn't think was taken away. Basically, by the open, we were saying we definitely still have more upside, but some of this stuff has bounced in a way where you probably don't want to buy it versus pre-market lows, even though the risk reward might still be worth it. Like, I think SPY, we were saying, do you want to buy it versus pre-market lows and give it 2 points? Well, it could be worth it if the upside is 5-6 plus points. And I guess this actually did end up just undercutting that pre-market low and then retook it in that morning flush. But basically, we had more upside. The actual entry might be a little tricky without getting shaken out, so see if we can find something intraday. And then it was a fairly brutal flush off the open of kind of opening panic selling, if you will. I mean, nothing really too bad there, but gap down, open, pretty much straight selling. I believe the TLT sold off too. Yeah, TLT opened, also sold off. Mostly anything and everything really opened, sold, and then it was a matter of what's holding up best or what's not. Just curious with that. Yeah, Amazon's a good one. So TLT again, flush, and then I guess Ackman said that he covered his bond shorts, and that's really what set it off. Which I don't love that. It's great for today, but the Ackman, I don't think the world was waiting for Ackman to cover his bond short. So he did help ignite a rally there. I'd rather that, if that is the bottom, I'd rather it happen in a more natural way than that. But, we'll see with that. I almost forgot about that this morning, and that's what really ignited everything. So yeah, Bill Ackman came out and said apparently he covered his bond short. That kind of lit the TLT up with upticks and pretty much V-bottomed from there. And that really took off with the market. Market straight up, pretty much the new highs there. VIX, same thing with everything else, only in the bearish direction, gapped up, traded up initially to the point where we started to have some upside extension there, some downside extension markets pretty early on. That just means a price correction on the 5-minute doesn't necessarily mean a full reversal, but when you have the other factors in mind, like we did with our daily charts, we're not quite at extreme extension, but we're getting towards that territory. And at lows this morning, we were at 417.80, and the SPY daily ADMA is at like 427. So we got $9 and change extended at lows. It's decent. And that ignited a rally, and we pretty much rallied all day. We finally got a real bounce that lasted more than just, a 15-minute correction, which we were kind of looking for last week. It felt maybe possible, but it was just too orderly. And then finally this morning, it was a bit less orderly, more not panicky, but a bit, some stuff really flushed out there, especially pre-market too. The TLT down at below 82 pre-market, it was kind of wild. So yeah, TLT, but yeah, then afternoon rollover too, right? So markets grinded higher. We got this burst up here when SPY kind of melted higher and then got negated right away. And you see that often with tops too, where you kind of like, I guess that's a mini little 5-minute blow off top, if you will. And I remember that was when VIXY was just grinding lower, and then just puked out here with some elevated volume. And then that bounced, and that was pretty much the low of the day. And if you're paying attention to all your time frames, which you should be, you're looking at this thing, even over here, this UVIXY is starting to kind of push 15-minute extension, maybe a little time correction right here, then a whole nother leg lower. And that was really it for the VIX. And then it was just a matter of how well do we hold in or not, was the main question. And we held in pretty well until the end of the day here, and this looks like this VIX was the main culprit for that afternoon rollover. The TLT did roll over a little bit as well, but that's fine. That held up pretty well. Markets definitely rolled over harder than that TLT. Like the TLT 5-minute, oops, I just clicked the wrong thing. The TLT 5-minute chart, I guess, no, because it never made new high after that. So that held in all day. Versus the SPY trend totally fell apart. Take a look at our actual VIX candles and see how those finished out today. So the VIX with a red day today, red candle, pretty much perfectly bottomed right at its daily ADMA, it looks like, and bounced from there. 5-minute chart here, yeah, big grind down, then more of a bounce than you'd like it to have. The VVIX, see if that tells us anything different. Nope, same thing really. Almost didn't even quite get to its daily 80 main bounce as well. That VVIX should look worse if the market shouldn't be as worried, if that kind of makes any sense. Like that's not really I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not really showing any negative divergence yet. Yeah, it rolled over, but definitely still an uptrend there. And this end of day curl up here is more than you'd really like to see. This is still above 100 as well, definitely above 100. So VIX definitely can still keep expanding here, and that's what happens in kind of breakouts. You can get big moves up, big moves down, but can just totally negate the next day, a couple days later. Take a look at the percentages real quick for where we closed down as well. SPY is unchanged as of right now. SPY's up 1 penny. Wow. Q's up 0.5%, a little bit better. And then IWM down 0.5%. Risk on, risk off gauge, which is what we like to call this. That's what I kind of like to call it. Definitely risk off still. Breath was not really too hot, especially this afternoon. Some of these banks, Bank of America closing pretty much right on lows here. JP Morgan closing below the 200-day, which it did not do in that earlier October correction. XLF in general, pretty bad as well. Bit of a doji, but that's no bottoming candle. I guess it could gap up and have a gap and go or something like that, but not really the best close here. And that just emphasizes what we're saying with this daily versus weekly picture. It's a daily bounce, but we're in a weekly downtrend. This market has a lot of work to do to fix that as well. So while we may be able to find a big bottom here at some point eventually, is it today? Not sure. Guess it could be. But I don't know. And I see, Brendan mentioning big tech earnings. So yeah, today's Monday, start of the week. Couple earnings names today. A couple interesting ones tomorrow. I'm interested how this Coca-Cola does tomorrow morning. What else did we say? GEGM tomorrow. Oh, Verizon tomorrow as well, which has also not been doing very well. I'm curious to see how that does. And then the rest of the week in the afternoon. Oh yeah, Triple M. Good point, Eddie. And this one also, yeah, that's what I thought. Also been getting beat up in a pretty, really big way, actually. I didn't realize it was that much off its highs. Wow. Yeah, a lot of damage out there. So yeah, that'll be interesting too. And then obviously the whole market's watching all these big cap tech earnings starting really tomorrow afternoon. Tesla wasn't great, and Elon didn't sound too happy with what he's seeing in the future to come. And Tesla's been getting punished because of that. This did end up bouncing today. This was another one this morning. This was like the main one that really flushed out. Apple might have flushed out too, I think. Apple kinda. Tesla was one that like really flushed out. You can't even see. You can't even really see the bottom there. Downside extension though, for sure. And that ended up leading to, again, an okay bounce on Tesla. And then Netflix, the sentiment was really sour heading into Netflix. So that was, I feel like, kind of a special situation where, they beat on some pretty important numbers. That advertising number they beat on. And the sentiment was so sour going into it. But as far as the others, I don't know. Microsoft seems fine. So, they could go down on a bad report. Meta, if anything, the sentiment seems to be to the upside there. So they probably need to report decently. Amazon, kind of mixed. It's been weaker. I'd say it's kind of neutral. Their last earnings report was pretty good. Yeah, that was this one. Snapchat has been dead money, and they get destroyed almost every single earnings report. So we'll see for that one. We'll see for Snapchat. What else am I missing? Microsoft, I already mentioned. Let me just look at the calendar real quick. But tomorrow for Tuesday, it's Google too. And Google also, I feel like the sentiment's been good there. So they should report well, and they're trading like they should report well. This thing's held up pretty nice overall. Um, but yeah, so tomorrow, Tuesday, Microsoft, Google, Snapchat, and some others as well. Visa, Teladoc, Texas Instruments, bunch of names. I mean, we're in the heat of it. Wednesday morning, Boeing, which Boeing finally bounced today too, but did this roll over this afternoon? Yes, it did. An okay close. Kind of barely closed green. Still in a downtrend though. I mean, that thing could still go lower. Definitely could. Boeing Wednesday morning, Meta, Facebook, Wednesday night, ServiceNow, IBM Wednesday night, and Thursday is Amazon. And then Friday, there's a bunch of oil names Friday too, Chevron, ExxonMobil, Phillips. So yeah, heat of the earnings season, which makes new swings hard until they report, but should make for some good day trading, especially with the market in play like it has been. But even if we get like a bounce and then we get in a tough area, an equilibrium or something like that, should make for some decent trading with all the earnings names coming out as well. And I think that's all I got. Trying to think of anything else I'm forgetting from today. But no, that's it really. We're pretty on top of that bounce this morning, I think. Hopefully you guys got some stuff. And then it's just a matter of trailing. This afternoon we rolled over a bit more than we should. And for now we're looking bearishly, I don't want to say bearishly neutral, neutrally bearish, maybe a bit better. There's a little bit more room to the upside, but another day or two and this ADMA is going to be right down here pushing us lower. And we'll see with this TLT too. If this TLT goes sideways for a few days, that'll help. If this just gaps right back down and no one cares about Ackman, which is possible, then this market could still push lower. Same thing with the VIX too. VIX could take like another day or two off. And then after a couple days, if it doesn't go right back up tomorrow, then it'll be make or break time for that. And that all lines up with these earnings. So, yeah, I think that's all I got. Happy to take a look at any questions, comments, complaints, concerns. Let me pull up the YouTube real quick. Make sure I don't miss anything there. TLT bounces. All right. Scrolling up the VTF. Or is that CLF trading now? Nothing exciting there. Upticked, downticked, right where it started. Could be interesting tomorrow though. That one can be decent post earnings the next day. Can be a little thin, but will move as well. CDNS. Thanks, Dimitri. Big tech earnings we just went over. I feel like sentiment's mostly good to neutral there, so hopefully they report well. Do I even bother saying they could go down if they report down? Because it seems like if any of those types of names report poorly, then they usually get bought up. That's kind of what's been happening. We'll see though. We'll see. QQQ up after hours, does that mean anything? No, not really. No, it's up a little bit. No, it doesn't really affect how I think. And again, the side of UM too is garbage. So if that IWM was showing any type of better strength or anything, these banks can't rally. I mean, it's tough. And I was talking about that this afternoon too. The sector's pretty poor today. SOX is up 1%. SMH is up 0.5%. I usually don't see those off too much. Is that accurate? Oh no, that's not accurate. That must be a misprint or something. Semi's up okay. Home builders kind of barely up. Qs, XLK kind of barely up. And that's it really. Everything else, XLI red, IWM red, XLF red, XLV red, XRT red, utilities, retail, materials, energy, bio, healthcare, like mostly all red today. The breadth was not very good today. Dimitri and Eddie are quacking at each other. It's only Monday, but it was already another crazy day today. Roblox weakness surprised you? Yeah. Potential little 32 double top there. I don't know. I mean, well, one, the IWM weakness is probably the main culprit for Roblox there. Overall, that Roblox chart is still a lot better and still okay. Back under 30 would be somewhat disappointing in that, though, obviously. Yield double top. Well, we made new highs this morning. Maybe. Too early to tell. How did like LQD and HYG and this stuff too? I mean, one bounce doesn't make for a trend reversal. I guess that's all you can really say about that. So we'll see. It'll be disappointing if TLT is just a giant gap down tomorrow, which is possible. Today is, obviously somewhat of an important candle. I mean, everyone knows that that's the Ackman bottom candle, so kind of don't like that, but we'll see. Do I have a strategy for trading earnings prints, or do you wait for the dust to settle? For post earnings the next day, depending on where it is and where I think it's going, I'll do like the opening drive, give it a minute, give it 2 minutes, give it 3.5, however long it takes to like officially make a somewhat quick, real high and real low, and then trade it up through the high or short reverse the low. When the actual immediate reaction is happening, they're honestly the only thing you can really do, and it's, I don't know, it depends. You can see the initial reaction, read the numbers, make sure everything's confirming for yourself, and then play like kind of 5-minute patterns, 5-minute momentum a little bit post earnings. Otherwise, I feel like you kind of have to have like a level in place, like say, I don't know, say SPY is going to report earnings and 420 is support, and you think the earnings are going to be bad and you want to short 420 and it's trading 422 into the report. You basically have an offer up to like cross the market at 420, and if you see it downtick, you just hit it and kind of hope you're right. That's super dangerous because you could get a false print. Sometimes algos react one way for a couple minutes and then they shoot it back up the other way. It's dangerous and kind of gambly a little bit. So I've seen it all the time. We saw it with Netflix. I think Netflix was like up a lot, then down a lot, then back up a lot. Things can move like crazy, but the way algos work now, there's no way you're gonna like say, hey, I wonder if Amazon's gonna report well, and then the numbers are gonna come out, and then you're gonna read the report, and then you're gonna be like, all right, now I'm gonna buy Amazon because Amazon's going to be up 30 points in your face before you blink, so you kind of just got to be ready. But I usually don't do that. If anything, usually on the reaction, I go the other way. Like, Amazon is pricing in 30 points. It reports an okay report. It goes up 30 points. I'll, short it and try to make a quick $2 or something. Yeah. But I've seen people lose a lot of money really quickly post earnings after hours by, making the mistake of, oh, let me just buy 200 shares of Netflix because it's going up, and it ticks up and they buy it, and then within a minute it's flashing down 20 points, and I've seen that, so gotta be careful. Yeah, exactly, Dave. Even if it blows through, you usually still get like a little bit of a pause at that area. Gabriel on YouTube thinks it'd be funny if we get TLT Ackman bottom. Yeah, it would be funny, almost. I don't know. We'll see with that. I mean, I feel like he would just brag about that, and that would be annoying. But and then, hey Pat, if we get a couple days rally, what would be some upside levels that you would expect some selling pressure? Purely for SPY, let's see. I remember 428 kind of being a level. I would say 428. Well, what do we get to today? 425. 425 intermediate, like 425, 428, and 430. Because at this point, our 80 EMA is at 427. Our 21 EMA is just above 430. So we're probably not getting to 430 unless this is trying to buck the downtrend a bit, and that's probably only happening on a slew of good earnings reports. We got to 425 today. If we really continue bouncing, I'd say 428, 430, and bears are going to be pretty 432 to 433. If you guys remember, the tighter range from last week was 433 and 437. So I'd say 428, 430, and then 433. And bears are going to be pretty annoyed if we trade above 433, because that whole breakdown will be gone. But yeah, first 425, then 428. Oh man, I remember I did the NVIDIA short on that gigantic earnings move, and I actually did make like my point or two, thankfully, because 5 minutes later it was up another 15 or 20. That was scary. Yeah. And that was a big blowout on guidance too. I probably shouldn't have done that. Alright, looks like I got through everything. Yeah, I think so. Alright, well, still subject to overnight news. For better or for worse, hopefully for the better. Peace is good. War. What is it good for? And then otherwise, we'll see how TLT bounces and or doesn't bounce further after today. Decent candle. Ackman bottom. Is that legit? Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if that's gapping down, but we'll see how much as well. But decent one-day start. We'll see if we get follow through or we kind of pause and wait for these earnings reports. Could see it be in the latter. So have a good night, everybody. See you guys tomorrow morning.